Man, I've got a book for you. And I had to write down a lot of the notes that I'm going to talk about during this short video because it is just so much information and it's really a good read. So, it is called uh, Babel. See this beautiful Tower of Babel? Anyway, by R.F. Kuang. It's an amazing book. And I listened to it on audiobook, but then I had to get the book to read a whole bunch of the sections that I really needed to read again. One thing you should know about this book is that there are footnotes in the book. And the best thing about the narration is while a male voice does the narrating, a female voice inserts all the footnotes right where they're supposed to be in the reading. And that makes for really entertaining and informative listening. I really enjoyed the narration. But let me tell you I think a lot of what I have here is in question form to get you interested in what the book has in it. I mean, ultimately, it's Babel and it's based off of the myth of the Tower of Babel, which is all about languages. And so, one question is, what's in a word? You learn a lot about the etymology of words in this book, and, and some of it's really interesting. But there's a storyline here too, and it's dealing in the time of history when Britain was an empire. And abolition has happened in the British Empire, but they're still invading and controlling all these countries as they did during the period of colonization. Most of the European countries did in some form or another, but Britain was the big one. So here's some questions. Is it still slavery if all your needs are met and you are respected, but while you must keep what makes you valuable, like your native language in this book, you must act in all other ways as white as possible, always working for those who take care of your needs and never for those from your native lands? This was a topic that they went over and over again in the book in various different scenarios. What is it called when one group of people controls all the resources, and either they dictate what you must do in order to gain or buy some of the resources, or they get you addicted to substances so that you no longer care for the resources? And either way, your actions and the results of what they've done to you are used to ridicule you and demean you and talk you down as a less than person to that culture. So that enforces that us versus them, and they are the other and they are not as good as us kind of mentality. This book could have been written in any time period. A lot of colonizations or colonizers used nicotine and alcohol to gain trust and addict cultures to these drugs. And then if you wanted more cigarettes, you had to do something for them, and they use that to barter in a lot of the countries like Indonesia and India. When I studied that in anthropology, it was a very interesting part of history to me at the time, and now I see it happening over and over again in different ways, and it's just disheartening that we continue to use people to get what we want. What actually drove the gears of abolition? And they do talk about this because a couple of these main characters or side main characters were slaves that were freed during abolition, but not because their masters wanted them free. Why do people ignore wars and troubles in lands far removed from them? And that's right there. If the war isn't affecting them personally, or they are benefiting from resources coming from that land, they don't really think about the people because, hey, my gas is cheap, so who cares? I can get to work. Um, oh, they're addicted to drugs and we're using them, but it doesn't affect me because I'm not addicted to those drugs. This kind of mentality we see, geez, almost every day in the news somewhere, if you're paying attention. There's a lot of discussions in this book between the main characters, internal dialogue and moral and ethical views, and it's just a very deep book. And then near the end, or near the climax, I guess, I don't know. A big question is, does misogyny compare to racism? And if you make it to the top, have you actually risen above your circumstances of your birth? Or are you now turning a blind eye to the continued insults because you think you've made it to the top and life is good? Both of those were very interesting concepts, and the girl who had suffered from misogyny the whole time could not understand why the kids who had been slaves or were from cultures that were not white and couldn't pass as white couldn't accept being at the top and being respected and taken care of. So there's a lot of, it's just a really good book, people. I would suggest everybody read this, and not just for the amazing story that it is, but to pay attention to the discussions on slavery, on ethics, on colonization, on languages, on how we treat each other. It's a fun read. It's a pretty fast read. And like I said, if you want to listen to the audiobook, that was amazing. Anyway, that's my review of Babel by R.F. Kuang. Thank you.